All right. So I've got some, I think it's probably White Falls Indigo Baptisia um, alba here that I cut out of my garden by accident, but hey, I figured I'd share it. All right, let's get right into it now. Um, yeah, let's get a little bit more of that in there. I went to Milwaukee Public Schools yesterday for the big meeting where Keith Posley resigned in the end. It did seem to me to be a complete farce, and that this decision to fire Keith Posley, as many had said, was already in the works and had already happened. Now, it's not uncommon for whatever the sins of a superintendent for it not to come out until the end of the school year, and it's also very common for school superintendents to be terminated or forced to resign, however you want to look at it, and however you want to look at it by let's say, coming up with manufacturing consent here about what's going on. I really think that more in a nutshell is what's going on. I think that there is a clear collaboration between people in the city of Milwaukee, MPS/MPS, people at and people at the state level, including DPI and the governor's office, on sort of what to do, how to clear everything out here. Now, we know that Keith Posley has always said that he was a soldier for MPS, and we're going to read that quote here coming up. But that, I think, is the ultimate point. Do you think by getting rid of Keith Posley that the problem that is MPS will be solved? Okay, and I know many of you are going to say, public education, city of Milwaukee, all of these things going against MPS, the problem shouldn't be solved, or that they're doomed from the beginning, or all sorts of variations like that, okay? And whether or not that's legitimate, my assumption that I'm going off here is that there should be a public education system, that there should be a school district for the city of Milwaukee, just like every other city or school district in the state has, okay? And that the people of the city of Milwaukee should be able to, especially given the amount of money that they have available to them, even now, should be able to produce a school district that meets the minimum qualifications here. Now, I want to be very clear and back up 1 second. I went to this meeting, and I'm going to talk about that later, I guess. And there was a lot of speakers. I think what the best thing for me to do on that one is I think we're going to even play that, and I'll try to, live react to a lot of these the speakers there, because that was fascinating. Many parents and people who were not there for so long, for all the last 4 years, for example, time in and time out. I won't pretend to say that I have been gone to as many school board meetings as, for example, Teresa Falleron or Debbie Keither. I will say that I've gone to quite a few, and of the few, at least 10. And of the at least 10 that I've gone to, I don't think 4 rows of the seats have ever been filled. So that, I think, is something to keep in mind. Well, you know us, we always have firsthand sources. So this is a transcript of recording of a conversation that's been used many times. It's definitely in the public record, between Debbie Keither and Tony Baez, who Tony Baez is a former school board director and definitely activist in the Puerto Rican community here in Milwaukee, and also just internationally known advocate for education, and a big deal in some circles. Okay. So this is him talking to Tony Baez. Says the prior administration, my God, the administration preceding that, what was that lady's name? Debbie says, oh, Darrien Driver? Yep, Driver. My God, she did tons of this. The subject here, as far as I understand, is retaliation. Yeah, because not only that, Posley sort of puts forth this persona that he is sort of likable. DK says, yeah, especially to the pastors in the black community. And I will note that Dr. Posley's pastor showed up last night and spoke on his behalf and basically said it was all, and I'm paraphrasing here, but a few white women workers were making complaints about Posley, and that's what the real reason was. So we'll play that, and I'm paraphrasing that, so I do want to be fair to him later on. We'll definitely play that. But there was some, I think, pushback from Dr. Keither from that as well for calling us out. But hey, there's no one thing about free speech, as we always say on this channel, is the antidote is more free speech. So, we're able to, just because somebody says something that you don't like, doesn't mean you have to sit there politely, doesn't mean you can use every vicious weapon of warfare against them, but it does mean you can say a counter, that's not true, for example. It's always available. All right. They put a lot of pressure, and the city councilman put a lot of pressure. Oh, okay, but Driver was nasty. Now, last night, there were city councilmen who came and spoke. No doubt that they were putting pressure on the board members to push Posley out because of the DPI letter. Okay. So at one point, I told Posley, I said sort of like, you sort of like were the implementer of all her retaliation. So this is Baez saying that he's calling out Keith Posley for being the hitman, the implementer, I'll just use his words, the implementer of all the Darrien driver's retaliation. Okay? And DK says, yes, exclamation point. And then Tony Baez says, how can he, of the superintendent? His point was very interesting. When Driver was the superintendent and I was the main, he used Obama. And he said, oh, remember Obama? Remember his chief for deportation with immigration? He says, when I was with Driver, I was without a doubt the chief implementer of retaliation. But I was her soldier. But now I am your soldier. Okay, and because I am your soldier, okay. If you decide that you don't want me to do this, I won't do that. But it was a political decision. And this is unfortunate in your case and the case of many. And that is one of the reasons I am walking. Let me try to interpret that if I can. It's his words, but I'll see if I can divide that out. Okay. He says Obama had this chief for deportation with immigration. Okay? I guess we're going to have to pause that just 1 second. All right, I think I got it. He's saying here, Obama, you wouldn't think would be so into deporting all these people. Remember, Obama, no question about it, deported more people than Trump. But Congress told him to deport more people, so then he did it. That's the sense that I'm getting from that. Okay? And then he goes on to say, this is, as far as I understand, Posley is saying, when I was with Driver, Posley was without a doubt the chief implementer of retaliation. But Posley, was her Driver soldier. But now I am the board / Tony Baez's soldier. And okay, because I am the board / Tony Baez's soldier, okay, if you decide that you don't want me to fire Debbie Keither, for example, I won't retaliate against people. Scratch that. If you decide that you don't want me to retaliate, then I won't retaliate. But he was a political decision, meaning your termination was a political decision, and it is unfortunate in your case and in the case of many, and that is one of the reasons that I said I'm walking. And so he's saying, again, this whole thing disgusted me, so I wasn't going to participate in it because they were making political and not legal decisions. That's political and not moral decisions. That's what I'm getting from that. You may have a different interpretation. I don't know. But all we can do here is read the facts out. As you'll get into, the state of Wisconsin is hard into violating my client's First Amendment rights, certainly possibly my First Amendment rights. And we will get into all of that. But for right now, we're going to focus on this. Hey, let's keep going. Because remember how we were talking about DPI? Yeah. Do you think DPI is part of the problem? Do they support Posley too? ? And let's give applause to Debbie Keither for getting that in there. Yeah, they do. He has a couple of people at DPI that help him out. I cannot speak for the new superintendent. This is Jill Underly. If she is going to be a little bit more independent because she is more with the teachers union and what have you. And there is some conflict there. And she may be holding out. But when you look at Wisconsin Association of School Board Members, believe me, they have a lot of questions. Oh, okay, a lot of questions. But politically, they feel obligated to support. All right? There you go. I'm not a political mover and shaker. I'm an attorney. So that's the insight of the politician that we're reading out here. All right? So, the same thing, here we go, I think must be said about DPI. That's the Department of Public Institution. Debbie Keither says, yeah, because if DPI doesn't, then the feds will get on them. And so you have that. I don't know what else I can tell you other than this dynamic requires that legally you take care of things like with Matt did. This is Matt Chasen, of course, and him trying to push forward her retaliation complaints. He can just continue to push and push and push. Now, there are other cases that, from my understanding, other people that have gone to the board and Matt has also presented them. Yeah, people are satisfied with what he did, but the board sits there, and even though they know with what he did, they sit there silently and they know. Yeah. They know he is right. They know that, but they can't take votes in those meetings, but they sort of like go around the room and you get a sense of how. Sure, this is talking about how they understand what's going on in a closed session, even though they're not having formal votes. And if they go publicly with an issue, they don't want to do that. No one wants to go public because it affects them. It gives ammunition to the people that are against MPS, and they are very careful about that. All right. So let's go a little bit further. Yeah, in many instances, they held back, and they let the superintendent prevail. Calvin Furman, really, he really is his attorney, okay? He is not. He is flipping, though. Furman, he left. And he says, I don't know. He turned in all this stuff on Posley. You're kidding me. When was that? At the beginning of December. He flipped. He said, here is the other thing, because I talked to Furman just this week. I talked to him. Furman is ready to expose Posley 100%. And yes, this is good to know, believe me, because I sort of liked the guy. I know, but I had meetings, and a matter of fact, look, about a month ago, and they did something horrible to those moms. Those paraprofessionals were on a path to becoming bilingual teachers, okay? Yep. You can imagine, most of them are single moms. More than 60% of them are single moms. Sure. Okay. They are older women. They are in, 40s and 50s. Yep. Yeah. They earn so little. They average between $18,000 to $20,000 a year. Wow. Because they have 10-month contracts, and because they sent them to this arrangement to Alverno College, and Alverno College has sustained the same courses that they do for recent high school graduates. That is why they're offering these women. See, that's another thing about MPS, and maybe here this is an issue with DPI, and they're setting up these courses, and they're promising these ladies who make so little here that they're going to get a step up, and then the step up never happens, and yet they're still charging them, and it's a big scam. And I don't think that they're scamming them to scam them. I think that they're trying to set up a system to make it look like this is something that happens in communist China and other things like that, where because things are just directed, and planned, and they're not really doing things there's no cost benefit analysis for things, that they just sort of do them to Potemkin villages to look good. We're going to have a discussion about X, Y, and Z. We're going to have these resources available. We're going to have this program, and it's going to turn out 20 million new new teachers a year, or, whatever the quota system is in the, communist China. And they do it. Whether or not they're qualified teachers is another story, but there sure as heck are 20 million new teachers, or whatever the dictate is. And that seems to me to be very similar about what's going on, really, is they don't really have the program infrastructure in place to do the things, because nobody ever thought out that far. All they want is the window dressing, saying, hey, Bob Peterson, look, we've got this program to get these Latino, people in there. Final thought I want to reference with you. If you recall last time we talked about a DPI conversation between Ben Jones and Debbie Keither, where there is supposedly 1,000 unlicensed teachers, and at a rate of $96 million that they're getting paid, these 1,000 unlicensed teachers. Okay, there's some questions about whether they're licensed or not licensed or whatever, but doing that math, that with benefits and everything else, that's $96,000 per teacher. Okay, here we have these paraprofessionals that are making $18,000 to $20,000 a year. There seems to be something pretty wrong with that. And to put it another way, I think that some groups are treated like they're on the inside, and some other groups are, treated this way. So, we have to remember here, and this is, I guess, my final point that I'll leave you with, that none of this came out of the blue, that all of the school board members are up to their ears in all of this as far as this record shows. That, and this, to be fair, what he's talking about is the Bob Peterson board 2 boards ago when Tony Baez was on. But the quote there from about Posley and being the chief retaliator, chief implementer of retaliation, could probably check with other public records that we have already produced here for quite some time. But again, it's always good to go back here and to keep in mind what is really happening. So, thanks for sticking with us. We'll keep you informed.